It's the 18th day of January 2021. Good afternoon to you wherever you are and welcome to the midday news here on Pan-African Television. We are coming to you live in our studios here in Abeleng, Swanike Street of Accra. We're live inside 46 African countries and some parts of Europe via satellite. We're live on Facebook at Pan-African Television and of course on YouTube at Pan-African Television. My name is Ivan Bant Abana. Let's take a look at our bulletin, our top stories for today. Coming up in our local front, as basic schools reopen today amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, we'll take a look at the readiness of some private schools across the country. Meanwhile, some parents and pupils have shared mixed reaction about the adherence of safety protocols. Also coming up, Member of Parliament for the Boko Central, Mahama Ayariga, wants tertiary fees for the 2021 academic year suspended owing to the devastating impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And in business today, while the COVID-19 pandemic continues to take a toll on businesses, booksellers bemoans low sales amidst the outbreak. And on international today, major opposition candidate in the 2021 Ugandan election, Bobi Wine, alleges large-scale rigging. Now, this and many other stories, including sports and entertainment, coming up shortly. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Now, many thanks for still staying with us. My name is Ivan Bant Abana. Let's take a look at our major stories for today. Now, a civil society organization anchoring democracy advocacy movement Ghana has denounced the election-related deaths at Techiman South and the invasion of Parliament chamber by armed military personnel. In an interaction with the media, Executive Secretary of the group, Azubila Salam Emmanuel, also petitioned the Speaker of Parliament to institute a bipartisan investigative body to probe the aforementioned issues which has dented the nation's embryonic democracy.
Society organizations, we are joined, and who brought this joint petition to petition the Speaker of Parliament to institute independent parliamentary inquiry into the unprovoked brutalities and killing of innocent Ghanaians following the December 7th elections. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we were all aware that the children of the age of 14 years old, 15 years old, and 18 years old, and other 5 adults were shot and killed by our uniformed security personnel, specifically the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Police Service. So we brought this petition to ask the Speaker to do one thing. We know this is a very unfortunate situation that happened, but looking at this situation that happened, we have the second deputy speaker, the first deputy speaker of Parliament in the 7th Parliament, who is the same first deputy speaker of Parliament in this 8th Parliament, Honorable Joseph Owusu, aka Joe Wise, who said those people that were killed were criminals. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, issue. We are also petitioning the Speaker of Parliament that the Defense Minister and his deputies, the Interior Minister and his deputies, when they are nominated by the President and they enter into this House for vetting, the Speaker and this House should make sure they shouldn't be given approval. Why? Because our security in this country is something that is a big disgrace to the entire nation. Now, party vigilantes has taken over our security service, wearing our military uniform, wearing our police uniform, doing a whole lot of things. So we don't want the current crop of defense minister and his deputies and the interior minister and his deputies to lead again. We are also sending this appeal to the president not to re-nominate them for the second term because they have failed this country woefully. And we are also calling the Speaker of Parliament to constitute a bipartisan investigation into the killing of these innocent souls. In fact, the pictures are not favorable for us to show them on TV. We believe we need to find justice for the poor. So we are also calling the Speaker to constitute a bipartisan investigation into the action of Ghana Armed Forces particularly, who has now turned into party hooligans. Any criminality or unlawful actions that will be taking place in this our current democratic era is being carried by our Ghana Armed Forces. And this house, the Parliament House, is a house of Ghana's democracy. So we have petitioned the Speaker of Parliament to make sure our Ghana democracy is restored regardless of any party or any personal interest from any other person.
Now, away from that, the current Speaker of the 8th Parliament, Alban Sumana Kensford Bagban, says it was a majority vote that elevated him to his current position in Parliament. Now, in a maiden address to the House last week, the 63-year-old declared his legitimacy to the nation's third highest office. There's more to the story.
According to him, obtaining 138 votes ahead of his challenger, Professor Aaron Mike Okwe, ensured his elevation to the enviable position. He repeated a mantra of President Nana Akufo-Addo that the battle is always the Lord's, adding, "Glory be to the Most High God," which attracted applause from both sides of the House. The immediate past second Deputy Speaker used the occasion to caution the members of Parliament to be civil and disciplined in their deeds, in their parliamentary work. His caution stems from untruly and rowdy behavior of some members of the House during the election of the Speaker last week, which attracted military presence onto the floor of the House. He tasked the leadership of the House to investigate those incidents to prevent their reoccurrence and to save and redeem the unsecond image of the august House.
I entreat all of you representatives of the public police to make the Dutch principle of secrecy your primary guide to acting in the discharge of the responsibilities and roles of your office. Together with the provisions of Chapter 5 of the Constitution, including notably the provisions on economic rights, educational rights, cultural rights, women's rights, students' rights, rights of disabled persons, and rights of the sick, contained in Article 24 through to 30 of the Constitution. The Dutch Principle of Secrecy Act, in essence, our own domestic version of the Sustainable Development Goals, whose realizations we have committed ourselves internationally. Those ambitions, goals, principles, and policies are the barometer by which we must measure our service and performance in this house. In addressing the issue of why the people of Ghana and self-complete Parliament, I would be remiss if I do not express my deepest regret, both as a former member of this Parliament and a citizen of this great nation, at the rather unruly behavior and promotion that took place on the floor of this House last week, including the presence of armed agents on the floor, and the breaches of the sanctity of the vote that was otherwise attach severe punishment in connection with the election of the Speaker of the Parliament. It was, to put it mildly, despicable conduct on behalf of people of honor. What makes it worse is the total absence of justification for reasonable dispute. As Speaker, I would like to believe that the secretary of that historic day would not be repeated. Certainly not on my watch.
The former Member of Parliament for Nadoli Kalio noted his almost 3 decades service to the House on the ticket of the current opposition National Democratic Congress (NDC), but assured the House that he would remain fair, firm, impartial, and resolute in the discharge of his duties as Speaker.
Away from that, now leader of the New Patriotic Party caucus in Parliament, Lawrence Osei-Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu, has denied allegations that he instructed Member of Parliament for the Tema West constituency to snatch ballot papers during the inauguration on the 7th of January 2021. Now, Carlos Kingsley Ahinkra snatched uncounted ballot papers and attempted to vote with them after realizing his side, the MPP, had lost the speakership position in Parliament.
West lawmaker was overpowered and accosted at the entrance of the parliamentary chamber and physically challenged by some members of parliament from the National Democratic Congress. Rumors were rife that the legislator was instructed by Lawrence Osei-Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu to do so after he was seen in a video having a chat with him prior to the said action. Lawrence Osei-Kyei-Mensah-Bonsu also distanced himself from the allegation leveled against him. The leader of the NPP caucus has further said Carlos Kingsley Ahinkra had apologized to him for his actions. He made this known in an interview with a media outlet in Accra. The former Deputy Trade and Industry Minister, in an earlier press statement, said he was heartbroken by how events unfolded. According to him, his actions were born out of the love he had for the New Patriotic Party.
Now, away from that, the Member of Parliament for the Boko Central constituency, Mahama Ayariga, has petitioned the Speaker of Parliament to move a motion that will disallow the payment of fees for fresh and incoming students in tertiary institutions in the country for the 2021 academic year. In his petition, the lawmaker is seeking prior legislative approval pursuant to Order 50, Chapter 1, to have fees halted as a result of the ravaging impact of COVID-19 outbreak. There's more to this.
Citing the loss of jobs and economic instability brought on by the pandemic, the legislator, who described this petition as a condition of urgent public importance, expressed worry over the decision by tertiary institutions to have both freshly admitted and continuing students pay their fees before they are allowed to access teaching and learning facilities for the academic year. The Boko Central lawmaker argued that essential components of the public tertiary institutions can function without many of the fees and charges requested from students in Legislative Instrument 2386. He proposed that bursaries will only kick in to support students only after they've been able to pay admission fees and enrolled at universities. Mahama Ayariga is therefore requesting that the Speaker grants the motion to have the payment of fees put on hold in order to ease the financial obligation of parents, adding that Order 50, being a financial legislation, can only be suspended by an amendment introduced on behalf of the President.
Now let's do some COVID-19 related stories. Now, President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has urged Ghanaians to strictly adhere to safety protocols following a spike in cases of COVID-19. In his 22nd televised address, he also entreated pupils and students to do same as schools reopen today, January 18, 2020, across the country.
Fellow Ghanaians, as our children in kindergarten, primary, junior high school, SHS2 and SHS3 resume school from tomorrow, I wish to reiterate that government has taken the required steps to ensure their safety in school. Heads of institutions, as well as their teachers, have undergone the requisite orientation on guidelines for school reopening during COVID-19 to enable them assist with compliance of students with the protocols. I've been encouraged by the preparations being made by many schools, in some cases with the support of their old Students Association and PTAs, in anticipation of the return on Monday. On our part, government has also undertaken the fumigation and disinfection of schools and the provision of sanitizers, masks, liquid soaps, Veronica buckets, rolls of tissue paper, face shields for learners and staff with hearing impairments, and gloves for caregivers and attendants to schools across the country. All senior high schools have been mapped to medical facilities across the country so that any outbreak of the disease in any such school can be duly contained. Suspected cases in primary and junior high schools will be managed by district health teams through the school health program and the COVID-19 rapid response teams. The world is facing a learning crisis, a crisis that is further worsening inequalities in access to education, with children from poorer homes and communities being worst hit. This learning crisis has serious implications for the future of our country. This is especially worrying for me because I have placed education at the center of the social and economic progress and prosperity of Ghana and of her political stability.
All right, now let's go for a quick commercial break. We'll return shortly with some more COVID-19 related stories. Do stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's incredible! Bang on target!
Na jawo ti kan mu deda do bi krasi wa se wan ti mensi
make me sis me sire why na me yi kwa na treche wo o jari malaria din ya chisa
eja kan akoma tu yem so onom dan proke herba mixture usi simbadu say from oyire so doctor ka chene say o malaria mo ani bi oni pedue mu a so onom dank antima x yare malaria ebe kokora obi wo hono ma ne yem ye ne yanso a so onom dank gastro care herba mixture omo beton dank phyto care herba mixture koko ebe ye hu adwuma ma wapon waposo tutu dank extra care herba mixture obenya hoden ne watimi anante make food dank no nyina e di amamo
na ebenya dwedwe nya bi we
pharmacy shop and a herba shop also pe dank nu a ye be ma obi
acho mo number ye sen
0266593330
enroi oba penfo oba ma akora nufo ani akora woni mfie du mienu ntime no
FDA ahwehwɛ saa edwadie nkratoe mu agya atom sɛ ɛyɛ
Ladies Many thanks for still staying with us. This is Pan-African News here on Pan-African Television. My name is Ivan Bance Abana. Let's bring you some COVID-19 related stories. Now, our school throughout the country gets ready for actual academic work today. Our reporter, Derek Boche, set out to find out how private schools survived their closing down of schools due to COVID-19 and their readiness for a safe reopening to their pupils. There's more to this.
Given the order for schools to reopen, and this is from the kindergarten to the tertiary institutions. These schools consist of both private and public schools. Now, the question that is being asked is, how is the private school surviving? The question that is being asked is that, how did they even survive this period of 10 months that schools have been closed? And what are the arrangements for the private schools, even as school has reopened? Now, we have taken the opportunity to step into one of the private schools located at Adenta House and Adenta News Side, called the Golden Gate International School here in Adenta, to understand how the situation was like when COVID set in and the challenges that the school faced, even with its own teachers and other administrative staff.
Honestly, Corona came very unexpected as usual, and the basic private schools are the most affected, in the sense that it came when we are not prepared, we don't have any government support, and we rely solely on the people's school fees to pay our teachers. And you can attest to that. The private schools absorb a lot of the employment range in the country. So when it happened like that, my school, for instance, I have about 26 teachers, and about 16 of them had to stay off for the past 9 months without any form of salary. The little we could do, even though it was abysmal, could support barely 10 of them. And so majority of our teachers had to be laid off without salary, without any form of income for the 10 months that we've been off the scene. Unfortunately, I couldn't get back all my teachers. Some have gone into other form of business, and some have even relocated. So the school had to make new recruits to replace some of our teachers. And so it really affected us because we lost the majority of our experienced ones, and they have to look for other means of survival. And so they had to leave. Nonetheless, we've made replacements, and it's also the maximum best that we could get.
We want to understand their preparations towards the opening of schools. What have they put in place for the safety of these pupils that are coming in?
With the pupils coming in as much as we are happy about it, we need to sustain the COVID protocols to ensure that the pandemic doesn't spread among the children in order for us to continue with the system we've been introduced to. So for Golden Gate, for instance, we've introduced the Veronica bucket. Aside being at the main entrance, each class is entitled to its own mini Veronica buckets and hand washing materials. We are also supplying the pupils with nose masks and sanitizer from the school to the pupils. We already have a small class size, and our classrooms are very, very spacious. So we were even practicing the social distancing in the classrooms before the pandemic set in. Nonetheless, classes that we find to be bigger, we have split them into A and B classes in order for the children not to be closer. For instance, the preschool classes like that, their sitting position have to be in the care from little like 4 or 5 on the table. We split it to 2 to a table so that they wouldn't be that close to each other. Our break times too, we've put in measures. There wouldn't be any more crowded lunch times. They go to the canteen 2 classes per time, 2 classes per time, in order for them to observe the social distancing at the canteen. We're not having any social gathering, that is PE, singing and worship. Worship and singing can be done, and assembly. I've directed my teachers to hold it in their classrooms for the pupils in order for the pandemic, for the disease not to spread if we are to gather them like that. So on behalf of the private schools, I would like to appeal to government that the private schools play a very major role in developing children at the basic level. we plead with him to come out with some sort of interventions for us when issues like this happen. Because with this one, our teachers were left like that. I think just a few of them got support based on the school being registered as SMEs. So we want to plead with government that anytime he's bringing in interventions in terms of education of our children, in as much as he considers the government school teachers, he should also consider the private school teachers, because I can bet you they also contribute a lot. Private schools also is a medium of reducing graduate unemployment in our system. So he should also come to our aid with the supplies of PPEs and any form of interventions to alleviate teachers during such periods should be extended to the private schools as well.
For Pan-African News, my name is Derek Boche.
Still on COVID-19, now the surge in cases of COVID-19 necessitated the close down of some educational facilities across the country to ease down the spread of the pandemic. Now, following the directives by the president for school to reopen today, my colleague Ruth Okoso told some basic schools in Accra to pick the thought of parents and pupils on the adherence to preventive protocols, resumption of academic work, and came through with this report.
On March 15, 2020, schools generally here in Ghana were shut down due to the rise of COVID-19 cases. In the president's recent address to the nation on January 17th, Sunday, the president has announced that schools are to reopen for studies to continue. We currently here at Abelempe Basic School 2, and to observe and see how students are observing the COVID-19 protocols and the teachers as well.
Abigail Ayo.
Okay, which class are you?
I'm now going to Form 3.
Form 3. Wow, so staying at home for all this while and now coming back to school, how do you feel about it?
I'm not happy with that when I'm staying at home. If I come to school, I love to learn, but when I'm home, I don't feel comfortable. If I come to school, I feel comfortable.
So as a JHS student going to Form 3, soon expected to write your BEC here, how do you see it? Like, is this going to help you?
Yes, please.
Confidence.
Confidence. Which class are you?
Form 1A.
Form 1.
Form 2.
You are not going to Form 2?
Yes.
All right, so with this COVID-19 is coming back to school, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's safe for you?
No, but we have to come because we've been in the house for about a year now, so we have to come and study too because it has drawn us a bit back. So I think it's better that we come to school. All we need is the COVID-19 protocols to work on.
So are you observing it?
For now, I can only see some people wearing their nose masks, some are not wearing. When we came, there was no wearing kabaketi. Since now before they've placed them, there was no tissue and liquid soap, nothing. So we just came, so we just started working. So it's just some people that now before the headmaster came to shout on some people to wear their nose masks. So we are now working on them.
Do you think with this coming back to school, after staying home all this while, but before that, were you having classes?
Yes.
At home?
Yes.
All right. So coming back to school, staying all this while at home, is it helping you actually coming back now? How do you feel? Like, say the stuff from Bishop book more, how?
That one, yeah, because it's a little bit I don't know how to say it, but we'll try our best. We've forgotten some things. I can't even remember anything, but we'll try our best to do it.
COVID-19 cases, what to say? See, are they a
Oh yeah, my sister Kosropa.
Oba eba school. Eba besham ankofo. Oba you want to say bimokra no smarts na kramo nhene ade. O feel okay wo ho.
There be me bunto me yem wo ho kra because na me expect sa. Na me expect say ka meba na nka kola bia hye no but teacher for no omo try omo bom ho modern. As soon as headmaster buy pepe or instructor bia say on hye nose mask.
Nintino in Colana or Kakra Bakashomo, shall no smarts, you say, and son of Kakano were ye, none enough for fun and now. And no old dress ever boy, reopen of school, Yankasa, and Weboa.
No dear, ye dear chase and can call on bet no fiesta. Ain't a teacher funny a bad time. I was saying, see a boy and home more than see a best sham colana, so almost say no mask. Yeah.
Okay, so that was a parent who brought the word to school, and then what she's saying is it is not really safe, but as parents and teachers, they are doing their best to help the children to wear their notices and go by the COVID-19 protocols.
My name is Helena.
Helen. Okay. So why are you not in the nose mask? Why are you not in your nose mask? What happened? Do you have one? You don't have one. Why? Are you sure you don't have a nose mask? You sure? Why? Your parents didn't give you?
I've lost it.
What?
I've lost it.
You've lost it? Wow. All right. So we will hope to give you one. So, but are you not scared with the COVID-19 case? Are you not scared?
I'm scared.
You are scared and still not in your nose mask, and you love to come to school.
Yes.
All right. So that was one sad one from Elena, a student here, and who doesn't have a nose mask. So we're hoping to get her one as well before the end of the day, so that she also feels safe. And hello there, what's her name?
Miss Emmanuel. Yeah.
I can see you're so happy and excited coming back to school.
I thank Akufo-Addo that we have come to school today. To come and learn.
Oh, I hear you. Okay, so are you observing the COVID-19 cases? No mask. That's not how to wear.
Yeah, I'm observing it well.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming back to see your friends and all. Yeah. Are you observing the COVID-19 protocols?
Yes,
social distancing?
Yes, please.
You sure?
Yeah, so I tell my friends to observe it too.
Okay. All right, thank you for being ambassador. Thank you.
So that's all we have for you in our local front. We'll go for a quick commercial break. We'll return with business news. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Business news. Now, some stationery dealers in Accra are complaining over low patronage after government's decision to reopen public and private schools. A visit to some bookshops at the Central Business District revealed that despite the expectation of high sales by the dealers as school reopens, the situation was otherwise. There's more to this.
Speaking to Pan-African News, some stationery dealers at Makola Market said business has been very slow despite the announcement of resumption of schools by President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. They tell the news team that unlike past academic years where sales were high, this year has been different. They are very optimistic of good sales after proper resumption of schools with recommended textbooks prescribed to students. The dealers further stress that demand of various textbooks have been high due to shortage in production by manufacturers. This, they disclosed, has led to increment in the prices of the books.
I sell textbooks and chopsticks.
How is the market like?
Oh, it's very slow because of today is the day they reopen the school. So it's very slow. It will get better. The reason is when we started, let me say, by last week, things started changing because the school is reopening today. So things started changing.
Market no de enye kura. Books no almost a new curriculum emba. Enti omuba ye nya books no ma omu. Na sese nso mu atu niema mu bebre nti nipa no ba na obisa na ye kabo no kire no na wadane nachi na okọ nti omu nto hwe maye sese asika ni ho eno na ye important thing sika ni ho nti nipa no ba na even book no wo kra po ni sika no ensu nti otimento na wakọ.
So far the market it's not moving how we expected, because people are complaining they don't have money now to come and buy the books, and some of the books are not available. It's not available. The curriculum they change. The books are not available to sell for now. That's why. Well, how they change the thing? They change the thing. The books are not available. They are now printing the books. So they send the books, and now you print it, write it, send to NACA, and it take a lot of time before the books are available. So it's a huge headache for us.
So far, the market is booming, but we have a lot of challenges concerning stocks. We don't have stocks of late because of the pandemic. We couldn't make it at all, and based on that, the prices has gone up, and it will go up by next week. It will, sure.
All right, so let's do some more business story. Now, the French ambassador to Ghana, Ntsiwa Avi, has said the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which came into force in January 1st, 2021, will take more time to settle, as the regional integration policy, in her view, could be more complicated than estimated. The African Continental Free Trade Area seeks to harmonize 1.3 billion people in $3.4 trillion economic bloc, which hopes that the agreement will become the largest free trade area since the establishment of the World Trade Organization.
Touching on the prospects of the African Continental Free Trade Area in an interaction with Harriet Nati on Pan-African Television's Diplomatic Affairs, Her Excellency Anne-Sophie Avi noted that though the initiative seems easy, it may be a bit complicated. The French ambassador to Ghana also indicated their resolve to partner the continent for the smooth rollout of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement.
What do you think of the free trade area on the African continent? What is your take on the free trade area?
It's going to take time to settle down, because it looks easy. Open the borders to African products and make this market a huge market to enable any company in any of the African countries to certainly have a larger market for their products or services. So when you say it like this, it seems to be very easy. Truth is, it's a bit complicated, because some products you really want to protect. You want to protect part of your industry. Each country has specificities that they want to keep. And how do you do with the currency? How do you do, and how do you do with the infrastructures? It's, if you say we want to trade more among ourselves, but if you don't have the proper infrastructures, how do you do that?
Commenting on whether Africa should be drawing lessons from the European Union, Her Excellency Sophie called on the continent to liaise with other economic blocs in picking up vital lessons that could further boost intra-Africa trade.
So there's the
need for partnership.
There's a need, there's an appetite, there's obviously a necessity, because that is the key to for the success of Africa. But there's a path to get there, and that is where we're ready to help, and we want to partner with these countries. You mentioned EU. Yes, there have been some great success in this coming together that the EU is. We've also met some challenges, And because Africa is looking at getting together to be stronger together, let's put it this way, and we don't need to have technical terms. It's about coming together and being stronger together. We have some track records in Europe, but we also had some challenges. And before you start now, it's good that you can have a critical look at what we did and say, okay, what they did there was interesting. We might apply it maybe our way, differently.
So are there any lessons to be drawn from the EU, or could I be wrong if I put it that way? Like you said, the narratives are not the same.
Yeah, it's not the ground is not the same. So just like I sometimes give this analogy. I don't know if it's a good one, but you know, it's like food. In Ghana, you had influences, Portuguese, British, German influences in food, but you made it your own. Eventually, your stew is your stew. It's not a British stew. The base probably was British, but the way you spiced it up and made it your own is typical Ghanaian stew. So I think that's what you collectively are going to do. Get some inspiration, look at things that might be of interest, but then do it your own way.
Right, so now let's do some interbank cedi performance against some of the major currencies across the country as at 18th January 2021 today. Now the dollar currency is buying at 5.757 and selling at 5.763. The pounds currency is buying at 7.828 and selling at 7.836. The euro currency is buying as of today at 6.961 and selling at 6.967. The naira currency as of today is buying at 67.8 and selling at 67.181. The CFA currency is buying at 94.143 and selling at 94.227. So these are the interbank cedi performance against some of the major currencies in Ghana as of today, 18th January 2021. So that's all for you. That's all I have for you on business. Up next is international. Do stay. Let's do some international stories. Now, the major opposition candidates in the Ugandan elections, Bobi Wine alleges the worst rigging this country has ever witnessed. He contested against the incumbent Yoweri Museveni, who has been in power since 1986. There's more to this.
The results of one of the bloodiest elections in Uganda in recent times began to trickle in. The main opposition candidate, 38-year-old Bobi Wine, from the National Unity Platform, as the results of one of the bloodiest elections in Uganda in recent times begin to trickle in, the main opposition candidate, 38-year-old Bobi Wine from the National Unity Platform, has alleged, quote, the worst rigging this country has ever witnessed, unquote. After the counting of 29.4% of the votes cast under heavy security deployment on January 14th, the Election Commission said around 11 a.m. local time that 76-year-old President Yoweri Museveni of the National Resistance Movement, incumbent since 1986, had an early lead with 63.9% of the votes, while Wine trailed with 28.4%. The pop star turned politician Bobi Wine, whose house is reportedly surrounded by the military, has refuted the results. Quote, I'm very confident we defeated the dictator by far. I call upon all Ugandans to reject the blackmail, unquote, he said. He alleged further that, quote, the illegal high-handed actions of the government against the opposition in the run-up to elections had set stage for the worst rigging this country has ever witnessed, unquote. A week before the election, The UN High Commissioner of Human Rights had raised serious concerns that the COVID-19 related lockdown was being selectively used by the government to curb the campaigns by opposition parties. Wine's campaign was subjected to repeated attacks by security forces, mass arrests, and even alleged torture of the arrested companions under detention. His personal bodyguard was killed after being run over by a military vehicle. Forces also attacked journalists to prevent them from covering opposition campaigns. Kizza Besigye, the main contender against Museveni in the previous 4 elections, said, quote, "The terror frankly is unprecedented. Violence terror seems to be scaled up with every coming election. This election has witnessed untold violence. It gets worse and worse by the day," unquote. Quote, "It doesn't feel as if though the country is going into an election. It feels as if though the country is at war," unquote, a human rights lawyer, Nicolas Opio, said. The European Union, the United Nations and other international observers who usually monitor elections were denied permission and have raised concerns about the transparency. The African Union is reportedly the only international organization to have sent in monitors. Charity Ahimbisikwe, who heads an election observer group based in Uganda, was reportedly arrested on Friday while meeting a journalist in the capital city, Kampala. The Associated Press reported that she was held at a police station and was yet to be informed of the charges. An election official has said in response to Wine's allegations that the onus on him is to prove the rigging. Quote, "I will be happy to share the videos of all the fraud and irregularities as soon as the internet is restored," unquote, Wine told Reuters. The internet, which was blocked on Wednesday, a day after shutting social media sites, is yet to be restored. Wine has indicated that street protests will follow if Museveni happens to hold on to power through alleged electoral fraud. For now, however, the streets of the capital, Kampala, patrolled by soldiers, wear a deserted look as shops remain shuttered on January 15th, which was declared a public holiday.
Let's bring you some international stories. Now, the panel discussion on the commemoration of Patrice Lumumba giving our global pandemic contest from India to South Africa, from Kenya to Ghana, Nigeria to Congo. The speaker shared the importance of Lumumba's ideas for the free and liberated Congo and an Africa freed from neo-colonialism.
Gathered today to talk about not only the assassination of Patrice Lumumba and his comrades 60 years ago, but about his legacy and about the impact of that assassination.
As you shared, 60 years ago, Patrice Lumumba was assassinated. Even though he's been assassinated, his ideas are still well alive. Congolese today know the reason why he was killed. He was killed because he wanted the resources of the Congo to benefit the Congolese people. But that idea was not an idea that came out of a silo. It's part of a process of Africans wanting to determine their affairs, which started from the 5th Pan-African Congress that took place in Manchester. In 1945, a group of young Africans from all around the world came to Manchester to decide the future of the African continent, and were clear that there will not be a new Africa unless it's a socialist Africa, unless it's a Pan-African Africa, where Africans are deciding for their future, how they will produce, and how they will share the proceeds of their production with the masses.
As you stated it earlier, Patrice Lumumba was a tree that was cut. However, what those who cut that tree didn't know is that Patrice Lumumba bear seeds, and those seeds will always grow more trees. So Lumumba lives through this Pan-African ideology described by Kambale and practiced by many in Africa and worldwide in their everyday lives.
I think what Lumumba represents for a lot of us, Kambale mentioned, is there is, or I think actually it was Marie-Claire who mentioned, the tree that fell and sprouted seeds that continue to live on within our societies. And I think a lot of us, when we start to reach for an ideology of Pan-Africanism, Lumumba is definitely very high on the list of people who inspire us to start to think about what that Pan-Africanism could be and what it could represent.
I think for me the main thing would be to speak about the context of Lumumba and what it means for us outside of the Congo, but also to think through what Lumumba means for us today, in particular around our anti-imperialist struggles and capitalist struggles that we face, as well as the ways in which we have to deal with the elite nationalists that are compromised within our own nation states, but more broadly on the continent as well as to think through questions of unity, especially regarding Pan-Africanism, given the rise of the sort of solidification of difference, borders, rise of xenophobia. Based in South Africa, we have a huge rise of xenophobia in our country as well, not incidentally, not untied to imperialism and capitalism and the sort of ways in which it's destroyed our societies. So I think for me, that's the sort of ways I would like to engage this moment in thinking about Lumumba.
It's really extremely important that we had this conversation today. Before I go further, I just want to also agree with you, Vijay, that what we've seen around the pandemic in terms of financial arrangements has been a refusal from international financial institutions to write off the debts of Africa and other vulnerable territories, but rather to show a kind of being nice.
So that's all we have for you on International Fraud. Now, credit to the People's Dispatch, our international partners, for our international stories. Now, up next, the sports with Eve Edwards.
It's incredible! Bang on target!
Now let's do some sport here on Pan-African News. Now starting with our very first story, Accra House of Folk continued their impressive run in the ongoing Ghana Premier League after beating Techiman 11 Wonders by 2-0 at the Accra Sports Stadium yesterday. Meanwhile, Accra rivals Kumasi Asante Kotoko were held to a 1-1 draw against Wafa at the Sogakope Park in matchday night fixture.
The Phobians recorded a 2-0 win over 11 Wonders in matchday 9 fixture played at the Accra Sports Stadium. Hearts were on top with their front foot football, and it paid off in the 11th minute when Manaf Umar gave Hearts the lead. 11 Wonders nearly snatched the equalizer 5 minutes from halftime
when Samuel Boache went through 2 defenders before pulling the trigger, but Richmond Ayi, between the sticks for Hearts of Folk, produced a super save to palm it away for a corner kick. 3 minutes into the second half, Victor Edo drilled in a powerful shot with the outside of his boot, which beat Musi to give Hearts the second goal. The Phobians are now 4th on the league table. Meanwhile, arch rivals Asante Kotoko shared points with Wafa at the Soga Copper Park. Daniel Aglo put the home side in front on the half-hour mark as he slotted the ball past Razaka Balora from inside the box. The best chance fell to Fabio Gama, who dribbled his way into the box, but his connection was turned away by Bolivar Owusu Safo. Just after the hour mark, Emmanuel Sarkodie threaded a ball through for Kwame Poku to strike past goalkeeper Owusu for the equalizer.
Let's move on to the remaining results of week 9. Now, at the Accra Sports Stadium, Inter Allies lost to Accra Great Olympics by 2-0. At the Karundov Park, Liberty Professionals also lost to Ebusua Drafts by 2-1. Now, at the Ajiman Bedu Park, Edwana Stars defeated Legon Cities by 2-1. Ashgold 0, Mediama 0. We have Kerala United beating Bokun Chelsea by 4-1. Bechem United also drew 1-1 with Dreams FC. King Fraser 1, Elmina Sharks 1. Now, let's move on to the table after match day 9. Now, Kerala United occupies the first position with 17 points, followed by Ashgold with 16 points. Bechem United 16 points. House of Folk now occupies the 4th position with 15 points. Great Olympics with 14 points. Now, down to the relegation zone, we have Inter Allies with 7 points on 16th position. Kinfeza 7 points, and then of course Legon Cities with 6 points. Now to our final story, Ghanaian boxer and former IBF lightweight champion Richard Oblite Komi has disclosed in an interview that he will not underestimate his opponent, Dominican professor boxer Jackson Martinez, when the two face off on February 13th this year.
Will be returning to the boxing ring after his loss to American boxer Teofimo Lopez in 2019. Jackson Martinez, on the other hand, secured a 12-round win over Rolando Romero in August 2019 in Uncasville, Connecticut. Comey has stated that he is not leaving any stone unturned. He further admitted that Martinez deserved the nod in their fight in the World Lightweight division back in 2016. The former IBF lightweight champion further indicated that Martinez has his full attention, and once he is victorious, he will speak about world title.
Sport entertainment is next. Over to you, Ayo.
Right, thank you very much for the time. Now let's do some entertainment stories that the Guinea-Bissawian actor and director Wankes Bunjon has premiered his most recent project, Kachiu Kuntun, at the first edition of the Bissawian film meeting jointly organized by Kalmaso Guinea-Bissau Production Company and the Brazilian Cultural Center in Bissau in January 2020. There's more to this.
According to him, the film does not intend to only make a statement, but to also deconstruct, report and denounce some figures who were part of that period and can be associated with the history of Kashio. It also seeks to rub together the memory of slavery in contrast to what can occur in Guinea-Bissau of tomorrow, taking into account the images seen and interactions people have had with others. Born in Guinea-Bissau and raised in Portugal, Bungwe returned to his native country to rediscover his roots and redefine his cultural identity on a fascinating trip home that has left him extra inspired. He is certain that the only way to highlight the local hardworking talent and the contemporary models of Guinea-Bissau culture and society is to recognize their potential by celebrating them within the country.
So that's all we have for you on our midday bulletin today here on Pan African Television. Up next is Youth Empowerment Show.